It's Reece James, it's 2-0 Chelsea.
Set up for Alexander Arnold, oh wonderful.
And James in over the goalkeeper, 3-0.
Alexander Arnold, brilliantly hit.
These are defenders, playing like some of the best attacking players in the world. So let me ask you a simple yet very complicated and messy question. Who's the better player? Before we get into this mess, do me a huge favour and hit the like button, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to join this little community we have going on here. Like Jamie Carragher said,
no one wants to be a fullback as a kid, no one wants to grow up and be a Gary Neville.
As one of the most successful fullbacks ever, why is that? Even at professional level, there weren't too many complexities associated with fullbacks. Just stop crosses going into the box from tricky wingers who do stepovers every chance they get. So for many kids watching the Premier League 10 years ago, a player like Gary Neville being the best reference wasn't all that glamorous. But there was an exception. The legendary Roberto Carlos, the godfather of modern fullbacks. To my shock, during my research, I read a story about how he struggled at Inter Milan. Roberto Carlos said, "I'm a Brazilian and I love to attack, but they wanted to play with 4 defenders who weren't allowed to go forward." The exciting young Brazilian's new coach Roy Hodgson felt he lacked the defensive discipline to play as a fullback, so he used Roberto Carlos on the wing, up front and even in midfield. By the end of that season, he'd had enough, and after voicing his frustrations, Roberto Carlos was sold to Real Madrid, where Inter Milan would watch him blossom into one of the world's greatest ever fullbacks, winning 4 league titles and 3 Champions League trophies. Oh, and a World Cup for Brazil. Oh, who remembers this wonder free kick against France? Beauty. Roberto Carlos was definitely ahead of his time. From that trailblazer birthed a whole new generation. Let me show you some of them. These 3 in European football defined their era, and you could see attributes of Roberto Carlos in each of them. Marcelo. His successor at Real Madrid was known for his trickery and technical qualities. He spent most of his career with a Spanish club, and ended up as the most decorated player with 25 trophies. Philipp Lahm, arguably one of the best ever players for Bayern Munich in Germany. Lahm mastered football so much that Pep Guardiola moved him to holding midfield in the later years of his career, which he dominated. For Barcelona, Dani Alves also offered a major threat for his team whilst Messi, Neymar and Suarez flourished in the mid-2010s. But because this video is mainly about 2 English players, let's focus on the Premier League. And again, for me, these 3 were the most attacking and technically gifted fullbacks to define their era, with Ashley Cole largely regarded as the best left back ever to play in the Premier League. And with the success of those type of players bombing down the flanks, the game rapidly started to change to a bigger focus on those positions. You could see the shift with Manchester United having the likes of Valencia and Rafael, Chelsea introducing Ivanovic, Arsenal with Clichy and Sagna, Pablo Zabaleta and Micah Richards bursting onto the scene at Man City, with even players like Seamus Coleman and Leighton Baines being a big focal point for Everton's attacks. With the success of those type of players, in recent years, you could see players like Marcos Alonso, Victor Moses, Azpilicueta, Nathaniel Klein, Danny Rose, Kieran Trippier, Kyle Walker, with Luke Shaw the last of that generation in my opinion. And that brings us to the current crop of fullbacks coming into the peak of their powers. The likes of Cancelo, Ben Chilwell and Reece James at Chelsea, Kieran Tierney, even Kyle Walker-Peters at Southampton, Wan-Bissaka, Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander Arnold at Liverpool, all known for their attacking exploits. I'm pretty sure I'm missing some promising talent, so make sure you drop any name you can think of in the comments for me. From this Premier League offspring of the great Roberto Carlos, that's where these 2 come in. They are currently excelling at the highest level of the game. Let me show you something. This is Reece against Southampton in a build-up play. He's in line with all of Chelsea's attacking players, and with the ball going into Tammy Abraham, he's likely to hold it up, play it into Mason Mount, who will then slide it forward to Reece. From that, those players will attack the box in wait for a cross from Reece James. Then there's Trent, in midfield like a number 10. With the ball being switched to Harvey Elliott in the game against Burnley, Trent will most likely be the main threat as Elliott will pass him the ball immediately to then use his immaculate ball delivery to find runners like Salah and Mane going in behind defenders. So, who's actually the better player, Trent or Reece? The only way we can decide is by comparing their numbers. Last season across all competitions, these are their numbers. For attacking, their contribution in the final third is as impressive as forwards and attacking midfielders, especially assists and goal creating actions, which links back to their positions during attacks from earlier, and the last 4 on defense. So comparatively, to my surprise, Trent leads Reece in all but one category, both attacking and defense, which for this decision conclusively weighs in the favour of the Scouser. But there's a problem. When they're both compared to other fullbacks in the big 5 leagues in Europe over the last year, they drastically fall short of a decent standard for their defensive duties, which if we've all forgotten is their main job. And with that curveball, let's look at the bottom line. Their team's success using last year's Premier League as the sample. Over the course of the season, you can see again that Trent is a better value than Reece, playing 6 more games and averaging a better points per match ratio. Reece edges goals conceded with 21, but the plus-minus stats whilst on the pitch per every 90 minutes and overall favour the Scouser. And the shout for Reece is justified because of his incredible merit these past few years. And as fans, we love nothing but comparing, so this is probably going to continue for the rest of their careers, similar to Gerrard versus Lampard, which will then be even more scrutinised when they represent England, both vying for that right back spot. For me, I will go with Trent, for his production going forward is unmatched across the league and even in Europe for a right back. I think we're focusing on his defending setbacks rather than enjoying everything else. And those numbers are even similar to Reece. So from Neville to Roberto Carlos and Ashley Cole to these two, who are you picking? Peace.